What's up, YouTube? Long time no see. It's been a little while since my last video. Yeah, just been busy. You know how it gets. I did a whole bunch of work to my truck here a couple weekends ago, and I started recording, and then I kind of really got into the truck, and it was tough trying to record everything. I'd started filming, and then finally, I got a couple hours in, and it was just real choppy. I had different parts here and there, and I just thought, if anyone did try to follow it, it would be a pain to try and watch it that way. So I figured I would just do a total overview video, and here that is. So if you look in there, you'll notice it looks a little different. Namely, the biggest thing being I changed the color of this, which I just painted it with paint from the auto parts store. Needs a little love there. The old intake added again, but we got a custom one-piece Y bridge down in the valley with the intake runner pipe. And while I had this all apart, I went ahead and put a new FPR in it down on the CP3, and I put a race plug. So I kind of planned on waiting for the weather to get a little more consistently warm before I started this job, but I was having a loss of rail pressure at higher throttle, which is normally pretty well associated with the rail plug, which I'd already ordered a rail plug previously. But the problem I'd had was, they say you can get a breaker bar in there and pop it out. Yeah, there was no just popping mine out, and I actually ended up stripping the heads off of the old valve that's in there. And so when I had the whole truck apart for the Y bridge, I just went ahead and pulled the fuel rail, because I pretty well had a whole bunch of stuff off of it. But general overview of how to do the Y bridge job: you're gonna, first thing, disconnect your batteries, drain your coolant, which you'll have I put my inner fender in, but there's a little plug right here at the bottom of the radiator. Drain all your coolant out. Take your intake off all the way up to the turbo, including the mouthpiece. Pop that off there. Go ahead, take your alternator off. Take your AC compressor loose, fold it up and set it back up there. Zip tie it to the hood, however you want to do that. And then you're going to want to pop this guy loose. Take these bolts out. Take it loose at this bracket and fold this out of the way. I actually I had to put a new seal in the back of that, because I actually took this apart from there and then broke the old seal, so I had to get a new one. And once you do that, you can get into the Y bridge. Now I will say it was kind of a pain to get off of there and get it out. The hardest part is the bolts down in the bottom corners of it. They're not an actual bolt, they're just a stud with a nut. Once you get the nut loose, you can just pull the whole thing out of there. And you can see I got some hose here. I got tired of fighting the old fuel hose way down in there, so I ended up just cutting it and replacing it with new. But all in all, wasn't a super difficult job, just very time consuming. And since I had the bridge out of there, I went ahead and that FPR that goes into the CP3 is right under this. So they say you can pull it out without replacing the Y bridge. You might be able to. I just went ahead and done it while I was in there. As you can see, I didn't put this hole down back in. That bolt just dead. That tap just dead heads right there, so it ain't really hurting anything for that hold down. And then we hopped over here to get the rail out, this is already folded back and this is already off, mind you, to do that. So there's a couple, like, I think they're T20 star screws that hold this bracket in. You're gonna pop these connectors off, this one and the one below it, and then take that bracket off, move it out of your way, and then you're going to have a main line coming out of CP3 that feeds up into the rail here. I'll go ahead and crack that loose, and all the other all the lines running to the injectors, you're going to crack them loose. I actually ended up pulling like the front 3 of them, and then the last 2 I was able to leave loose. And then move my little ladder over here. And then there's a hose right back in here. I replaced it as well because I had a hard time trying to pop it off. Pop that hose out, and that rail, you can fish it out of there. And then they said 75 foot-pounds of torque, which I torqued her in there pretty good. Try and get the camera in there. You can see that new, there it is, that new rail plug in there. People say they'll end up damaging your injectors. I mean, it even has it right on the butt of the rail plug. Maybe, I don't know. I've seen a whole lot of people run them and not have any kind of complaints about them. So, you know, it wasn't that really, I've not had any problems out of it. And another thing I want to address, and there will be people that cringe when I say this, or people that say I'm crazy. You know, a new stock Bosch FPR is, you know, almost pushing $200. And yeah, when I went to tether this apart, I needed one quick, easy, fast, and a hurt, you know, down and dirty. So I ordered one off of a website called KB Diesel Performance. They're based out of Pennsylvania, and it looks exactly like a Bosch. I didn't check the serial numbers to make sure they were exactly the same, but it's $50. Put that in there. I've not had a problem out of it at all, and I've been running the truck. Like I said, it's been, well, I think over a month actually. So, you know, no issues out of it at all. And maybe I'll have some down the road. May never have issues again. If you're in a pinch, you know, they've worked great for me so far. So, you know, like I said, the guys on the forums and stuff would shoot you a new one for cheaping out, and they say buy once, cry once. But you know what? I don't have a problem if the part works just as fine. You know, just like for instance this Y bridge. No, it's not an HSP. It's a pusher, but I mean, does the same job, works just fine. The powder coating's good on it. Biggest problem I ran into was trying to get this thing situated right. And as you can see, it you know, it's pretty close. It's not touching, but it ain't real far off from it. But that's not the bridge's fault. That's this. The biggest thing, I was kind of worried about, you know, where it bolts through to the alternator mount, but that don't really seem to be a problem. Hardest part, honestly, was A, getting the bridge in, and B, just wrestling the boots around to get it all set up. But yeah, all in all, not too terrible. So with all this being said, I'm gonna end up needing some more powder coat under here. You know, eventually I'd like to get this thermostat housing pipe here and get it coated up and looking nice. You know, obviously the hot side pipe, and down the road there's plans. I don't know if I want to go with a fixed, like a S362 or a 366 big fixed vane drop in, or go with like a 64 mil, you know, DDP or RDS turbo, or a different VGT style. Ain't real sure yet. You know, I don't want to lose the quick spool up of the VGT I've heard that people get pretty good spool up out of the fixed ones, so you know, it may not really matter. I don't know yet. I ain't made that decision. But other than that, that's pretty much all the updates I have on it. I washed it and waxed it, but as people who own a black vehicle know, you can clean it up and it can literally just sit there, and if it's pollen or dusty or anything, it's dusty literally 30 minutes after you get done. But looks pretty good. So stay tuned. I keep saying I'm gonna have some 5.3 content coming up. I need to do a brake job on it. I've got it running and driving after I put that different transfer case in it, but I just haven't really drove it because I really need to do some brakes on it. And I started this project, and yeah, I had all the parts there and I wanted to do this, so I've been waiting all winter to do it, so I just kind of jumped in on it. But that'll be it for this one. Stay tuned. We'll talk at you later, YouTube.